I gotta give it to you, Anthony. That's the scariest freaking costume I've ever seen.
Ooh, spooky.
Hey everybody, and welcome to No Vacancy Dead. I'm Glenn Hausman. That's producer Dave. Anthony's on assignment today. Dave, how are you doing, brother?
I'm doing great. A little bit scared right now. A little bit terrifying going on, as you can see. A
I
lot
am
of
too.
spooky stuff happening today.
And look at my costume. Look, you can see the darkness of my soul in this thing here. Happy Halloween to you.
Something we all knew behind the scenes, but now the viewers get to see your real side.
That is true. I wish everybody a happy Halloween over there. I don't know how you celebrate it over there, but we celebrate it by not doing a live show, by having a pre-recorded show so I can be out there trick-or-treating. I don't want those kids getting all those Kit Kats before I have a chance to get in there.
Those Twix are mine, Glenn. The Twix are going to be all mine.
Now, listen, Dave, one of the things that I loved when I was growing up is going to haunted houses. You know, like Walt Disney World's haunted house was something, but we also used to go, I think the Long Branch had a haunted house down there back in the day, right? And that was kind of like a proto kind of house. And I remember going to some here on Long Island where I grew up, but they've gotten so much more interesting and so sophisticated these days, haven't they?
Yeah, I mean, listen, one of my fondest memories as a child was going through elementary school, and the parents would put together a little haunted house for us elementary school kids. And of course, it wasn't that spooky, but they would put it up. A lot of work would go into it. It'd be a lot of fun. But,
Right.
you know, yes, there's a lot more elaborate haunted houses out there that have come up. And one of them, you and I both have been to, you and I have both experienced. And we're going to talk about it today. And it's kind of intense, as you can see from the intro video.
It is kind of intense. All right, so you want to introduce our guest, or should I bring him on?
You can do the honors, Glenn, because obviously you're the scariest one of the bunch.
Yeah, thank you, and F you too, my friend. I appreciate that. All right, welcome to the show. We have Mr. Christopher Schrader. He's the general manager over at Eastern State Penitentiary historic site, where they're doing a really cool Halloween night event. We thought it'd be really fun to have Chris over here today because of that intersection between hotels and hospitality and all the things we do to get people excited or maybe scare their pants off and come back for more. Chris, how are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me, Glenn.
Excellent. And I wanted to say, listen, we really love going to haunted houses, but one of the things is when, you know, they'd be in like corn mazes or something, but you have the most incredible location to set the stage for scares, I think, that I've ever seen.
So, Chris, before you comment on that, let's set the precedent of where you actually are. Forget the haunted house for a second. Let's talk about your actual location, because it isn't a year-round attraction. I've been there, as I said. Where are you currently sitting?
I'm in the room of requirement. This is a space that we use for meetings, for pop-up exhibits.
But first, tell us where exactly you are. What building are you in? What is it historically has it been?
So I'm in Eastern State Penitentiary. This is a prison. It operated from 1829 to 1971. The word penitentiary came from this place in a way through penitence. This was one of the first places to use individual cells for holding prisoners. People would stoop through those doors as they went in. Hence
I learned that at Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. The penitent man.
Think about that all the time.
That's true. So you're in Philadelphia and you're housed in in an actual penitentiary that's over there. That's an above view from it. That's pretty interesting. But year round, it's a historic site, and everything you're doing here with these Halloween haunted nights is really all about being able to support the facility year round at the end of the day and help the community, right?
That's correct. Yeah. This is a fundraiser. Halloween Nights is a fundraiser. About 60% of the operating budget for the daytime exhibits comes from these 32 nights that we operate. A lot of our business partners with Halloween Nights are fair chance employers. So giving people a second opportunity at work
And that's those are people who have actually wound up in the legal system, and now you're able to give them a second shot, which is absolutely incredible. And there's an incredible hotelier, Chris. His name is Craig Poole up in Reading, Pennsylvania. He's got a DoubleTree over there, and he is helping put the town back to work by bringing in people that have also had similar circumstances in their past to make them understand that they've got a great path forward. So I love that you're really doing that.
Yeah.
So, again, throughout the year, you can go and you can tour the facility. You can see the prison cells. You can see the facilities. You guys had at least one very famous inmate there. You want to talk about that real quick?
Sure. Are we talking about Al Capone?
We are.
So Al Capone stayed here. I'm not 100% sure on the exact date. He stayed actually not too far from the room that I'm sitting in right now. We're talking maybe 50 feet difference. They had him there because it was closest to the entrance for all the visitors that he was getting. The cell was all done up with tornadoes and a jukebox and a nice bed. We use that space now for Halloween nights as our speakeasy. It's one of the VIP upsells that we have, and it includes a free drink for folks. And we have a number of performers in that space doing 1920s, 1930s themed things, singing, dancing, magicians. Real cool.
That's really cool because there's so much to do there. You got like 5 haunted houses, historic tours, theme bars, all that live entertainment you just mentioned. That's a pretty cool experience, and it's really a whole night out. So one of the things that we love to talk about is creating that great hospitality and creating memorable experiences, because we firmly believe we're in an experience economy these days, right? People want to have fun. They don't necessarily want to buy things. So what are people looking for when it comes to that quintessential haunted house experience in 2023?
It's like you mentioned, a little bit of everything: live entertainment, scares, photo opportunities. When we pivoted away from Terror Behind the Walls, the old event that ran until 2019,
right?
When we started doing Halloween nights in 2021, we wanted people to actually be able to take their phones out, take pictures, get selfies with some of the monsters that are out there. Take a photo with some of these elaborate props and sets that we have. That's a great. It's all about the experience, creating memories that people can capture and take with them.
Yeah, just stay here for 1 sec, Glenn, because I mean, you look at this. I don't know what you guys call them, performers.
Use word pictures because for the audio audience.
Yeah, so we're looking at one of the actors that is part of the attraction, and just real full-on makeup. We're talking not just face paint. We're talking full face makeup, hands, really elaborate costume. I'm assuming this is some sort of Medusa-style costume because I can see the snakes coming out of the hair. So, this is not just your local haunted house where you have a couple teenagers that throw on a mask and they jump at you, right? This is a real elaborate production where a lot of time is being put in just to be able to get to the performance. How long does it take to get a performer like this ready to get, for opening hour?
Some of our more complicated looks, they can take 20 to 30 minutes. It takes us about 3 hours to get all 250 people into costume and makeup every night.
250 people.
That's right.
Every night.
Wow.
Every night.
That's wild. So
showing up at 3 p.m.
You guys have done this for a while. This is not a new attraction, right? You guys have had this for years. Again, since I was a kid, I used to go there. I don't know how much you know about the history of the event, but how did it come about where, someone was obviously smart enough to say, hey, we're taking a typically spooky site in the middle of July, and we're going to make it even spookier during the spookiest time of the year. How did this come about?
So the Halloween event actually predates our daytime historic tours. It goes back to 1991. 1991 was our first year. That was a candle-lit, kind of Victorian costumed event with just ghost stories that took place in the space. That happened for approximately 3 years. And then as we got some kind of funding and fundraising from that event, the daytime historic tours kind of followed. Terror Behind the Walls, the predecessor to Halloween Nights, opened in 1997 and ran until 2019. And like I said earlier, it's always been a fundraiser for our daytime historic programming.
Glenn, stay there for 1 sec. I mean, these last 3 photos that we saw, for those who are
I'm going to go back a couple.
for those people who aren't watching, right now we're looking at a young lady who is dressed as a clown with pink hair and some really, really detailed makeup.
Kind of like a Mad Hatter female
Yeah.
version, but literally mad.
Literally mad. The next person is a vampire, if I'm not mistaken. Blood on the suit, everything. Good fangs, good look. Next picture was another really heavy detailed makeup. Looks like some kind of crooked dentist. This makeup, these works that are on these performers are movie quality parts of work from the body makeup perspective. We're talking about it. Any of these major Saw, any of these major horror movies is here. So who's in charge of the attention to detail, and how do they make sure every single detail? Because on this show we talk about in hotels a lot, right? Yeah. The typical co-host of the show talks about the attention to details. You guys have that. How do you make sure every little piece of detail is attended to every single night for 250 performers?
I mean, it's not just the actors and the performers. We have such a strong management team. Along with myself, we have two other. We have Aaron, our director of Halloween, also one of the general managers, and Lewis, one of the general managers. Below us, we have 12 senior managers. Lauren Palmer is a production designer, along with Tammy, our makeup artist. They're designing some of these looks. I got a whole book, a look book.
Oh, cool.
They keep everything in. And they're making we make a lot of our stuff in-house. A lot of these prosthetics that some of our actors are wearing, they're molding those all summer long, getting them ready for Halloween in the fall.
Do you guys typically use the same looks year after year, or is it always changing out?
Well, you guys have like 3 new houses or something like that this year, right?
We changed
two new experiences. Sorry,
correct.
Go on.
Yeah, the Boogie Monsters out in Pumpkin Plaza, taking on more neon-colored classical monsters, Frankenstein, the Mummy, someone from a frozen tundra, abominable snowman kind of look. And then our S'mores and Lures area, where we tell traditional ghost stories by the fire, roasting s'mores. We have a bit of a scaria over there. And one of those ghost stories leads into that attraction where there's a bus and there's some kind of 1920s, 1930s, the old burlap kind of masks that they would make in those time periods. I don't want to spoil it too much, but that attraction goes into those old looks of the kids on the bus and the person who maybe had some nefarious ideas.
Right. I love it. That is awesome. So what's the secret to creeping people out in a haunted house?
I mean, we're so lucky with this space and this environment. People are on edge from the moment they walk through the gates. I think it has a lot to do with that. Our acting team, we do 3 weeks of training, dedicated training with the staff to get them up to speed, get them familiar with their look and their style, their lines. We have a character book. Lewis, our other general manager, worked on that character book. Every character has a backstory. Every character has, a history that the actor can kind of get into.
Wow, that's pretty cool. Cool, Dave. Sorry.
Yeah, no. So, one thing I want to say about why we're tying this show to this, this experience to this show is, yes, they're not providing food. They're not providing hospitality space. They are still providing hospitality, right? At the end of the day, everything we want to do, no matter what part of hospitality you're in, is providing a memorable experience, something that people want to go back to, something people want to talk about to their friends and family. And Chris and his team are providing exactly that in this 32-night limited run experience that happens every year. So, we've talked about ad nausea in the society about jobs and people having trouble hiring. These jobs look a lot of fun. You guys, again, as we said, need to provide a memorable experience. So it's very important that you have the right people with the right mindset and attitude to be involved in your organization. Are you guys struggling to find talent? Are people beating down your doors to come work for you? What's that looking like for this type of experience?
We start interviewing and auditioning in July/August to get everybody lined up. We definitely have a lot of people showing up. There's a line down the block usually mid-August. But it is tough work at the same time. I like to tell people that I was a mid-season hire. I started in 2006. I auditioned in August. I didn't get hired until mid-October.
What?
We're always telling the folks that come through, like, hey, if you don't hear back from us right away, that doesn't mean that we didn't like you. We hire on a rolling basis. Spot open up. Because it's also very physical. People kind of underestimate how taxing it can be going late into the night. I've even taken 3 years off myself. So I started in 2006, but between then and now, there were 3 years that I gave it a rest. I hung up the coat and focused
the
on my
mask.
family.
Do you guys?
Interesting. Yeah,
Dave,
you're on a roll, Dave. I'm loving it.
I know. I gotta get my time in.
Yeah.
Are they a lot of? Are they the talent, the actors? Are they a lot of theater students or theater people? Are they just people off the street? Like who are you guys typically taking on?
It's a mix of everything for sure. We're very blessed, being in Philadelphia. We have a lot of colleges. We have a lot of college students, a lot of theater majors, like you mentioned. Friends of friends. I found out about this place through a friend all those years ago. We have a lot of families here too. I think the strongest family right now is at 5. We talk about dynasties.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And the one thing they do for fun is they don't do any background checks. So that way you may randomly get a real crazy person in there. Want to heighten that sense of fear a little bit over there. My wife's from Philly, so I could kid. Chris, what's the most rewarding part of this? It must be so cool to see these people get totally freaked out, even when they're prepared for it, right?
I mean, the most rewarding, I've talked a lot about people I get to work alongside, and we've talked about the actors. It's the people I work with. Yeah. I've forged so many friendships through the years here. There's people I still stay in touch with who are living in Vegas and Los Angeles and other parts of the country. I feel like a lot of our team have been here anywhere between 4 and 7 years. It's a really strong bond working together.
So since you've been involved in this a long time, I want to ask you a question or two before we wrap up on the wider trend that we're seeing right now. Universal down in Orlando has really mastered creating those horror nights and made a big thing about it. And now, of course, obviously, but our listeners may not know, they're building a permanent complex to do the same thing in Las Vegas at Area 15, which is a really innovative kind of space to begin with. You guys might know them from Meow Wolf being over there and that sort of thing. So with all of this happening, it seems like this horror thing and these haunted houses has really hit the mainstream right now with a lot of these companies.
Yeah. I mean, I watch horror movies year round. It's not just an October kind of thing. Yeah. I'm taking camping trips, putting something on, going to a double feature at the drive-in if they got one. That's like Scream and The Craft or something.
Yeah, that's awesome. What's your favorite horror movie? What gives you? What was the? I want to know your favorite one, and I want to know the first one that freaked you out.
The first one that freaked me out, I thought it was terrifying. I was doing the thing when I was a kid, watching the HBO, preview weekend. Shouldn't have been. I saw American Werewolf in Paris. Terrified me. I watched it as an adult. It's cheesy. It's corny. I don't know why I was so bugged out by it.
That is, Chris, I'm laughing right now because I'm a little bit older than you. My first freak out film was an American Werewolf in London.
Yeah.
And Invasion of the Body Snatchers from like 78. That was just creepy, weird. Dave, what about you?
It's a good question because I'm not the biggest horror movie fan. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not that into that genre because I'm a little scared. What am I going to say? It is what it is. That's why I kind of do Eastern Penitentiary once and then I go because it was pretty terrifying. Yeah. The first movie, surprisingly, that I remember seeing as a quote unquote horror movie was a movie called They. And it wasn't horror at all. It was really kind of cheesy. Everything was
John Carpenter, one of the greatest filmmakers ever. I think they had the fight scene with Rowdy Roddy Piper, and there was 45 minutes or something like that.
It just didn't work for me. But again, not the biggest horror genre guy, so maybe I'm not the best person to comment on this.
Well, there's a lot of great ones out there, and I'm a kid of the '80s, so I was all about the slasher films and the Friday the 13th stuff, and
where do we rank Friday Night Audit on the list of horror movies every week?
That is probably the biggest horror movie. I have to work with you on that show, and we have to try to be funny on that one.
Now, Chris, we're doing some pretty terrifying things on our own, but our shows that go out, they go out all over the country, all over the world. You guys are based in Philadelphia, so it's very easy for many major cities to get to. Myself, New York, Boston, DC, whatnot. Are you guys more of a regional attraction? Because everybody I know knows about it. or do you guys reach that national audience?
We definitely reach a national audience. We've looked back at like some of the surveys, credit card data from people buying their tickets online. We're getting people from all 50 states.
What?
Yeah.
All
Really?
50 states? That's insane.
Yeah.
Hawaii and Alaska too, obviously, that would add them in there. Really?
I'm sure from overseas as well. I think back to, we definitely had a visitor from Ireland last year who came through. I remember talking to them out front. Just had a couple from Houston, Texas. They were in town to see the Phillies play. They're big Phillies fans.
That's cool.
So would you say, again, based on what you guys provide with the talent, the detail, as well as the location, I don't really know of any other penitentiaries around here that do this type of thing. Would you say you guys are the top haunted house in the country? That's the place that people really need to get scared?
I mean, we're one of the largest haunted attractions outside of, you mentioned some of the theme parks. It's such a unique space. It's so large. People are here from 2 to 4 hours as far as the amount of entertainment that they're getting. It's truly a whole night kind of endeavor. And we have the scary, we have 5 haunted attractions, but we have the stuff like those ghost stories by the campfire with the s'mores. For people that maybe don't want to do the haunted houses, we want to provide opportunities for everyone to just have a fun night out.
Yeah, it's great, and it's affordable too. Tickets range between $39 and $89, depending on the day of week, and if you want VIP and all that. Dave?
No, I was going to say, do you guys typically get a wide range of families? Is it typically teens and adults? Do you guys, now that you have these other parts of the entertainment, are you seeing kind of more of that family gathering around this time of the year?
Absolutely, yeah, definitely. Lots of diverse age ranges. I've definitely seen people coming through, bringing their grandparents. Some of our staff bringing their grandparents even.
That's fun.
Yeah.
Has there ever been a medical situation? I'm not talking about serious medical situation. I'm just talking about maybe someone fainting or getting dizzy due to the fear. Has that ever happened?
I think that's probably something that's par for the course. It's something you're probably going to find at every kind of haunted attraction. It can be taxing on the body for sure. All the strobing lights and things like that. People are overwhelmed.
Yeah, Dave, we should see if they have more heart attacks than the Heart Attack Grill in Vegas.
It's tough.
I know.
That is tough. So, Chris, where can we find more information about Halloween nights? Where can people book tickets? What are the dates that you guys stop and then obviously start back up typically next year, because it is a year-round thing?
It is 32 nights. It runs from the last 2 weekends in September historically up through the first 2 weekends in November. We'll do our remix at the end of November, where we always change things up and do something a little different. If people are interested in finding out more, they can go to easternstate.org/Halloween. See the attractions, see that video that you showed at the beginning. Very proud of that.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Boom.
Thanks.
There you go. Dave's right on it. I love it. Well, Chris, thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate you, man.
Glenn, Dave, thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a good one. That was a lot of fun, Dave. I'm glad you set this up because it was something fun. It's something different. And, it was great. Oh, I forgot to tell Chris, I think instead of maybe charging people to go in, they should charge them to get out. Make a lot more money for the
bring him back
the
first.
group.
Chris,
Chris,
what are your thoughts?
I'll let you do that. Yeah.
What are your thoughts on the idea?
We've toyed with a number of things over the years. I know that we did an event in the past where people could walk through the particular attraction one at a time, just them, no one else.
Oh,
to
that's
kind of
pretty
hold
cool.
The arm.
Yeah, I love it.
We're always playing with different ideas to make people frightened. We had a kind of an escape room challenge called the Hex Challenge a few years back, and we would lock people in a cell for that as well. Just to give them that heightened experience.
I remember going to Alcatraz, and they closed that solitary confinement door, and it was black and it was quiet, even in a room with 30 tour goers. Scary as anything. Chris, thanks again. Really appreciate it.
Okay.
Take care.
Glenn, I think we have a show coming up maybe next year, which is basically just either FNA or NVL which is basically you with a GoPro strapped on walking through the Eastern State Penitentiary
Hey,
Halloween
we should
night.
definitely next year we should do a Friday night audit from there early on in the season because I don't want to be too chilly. But I do want you guys to know, hey, make sure you follow us if you're listening to this show, then why not give us a little watch? Watch us on all your stations over there, the LinkedIn, the Facebook, NoVacancyNews.com, and YouTube channel, and of course all of that kind of good stuff. And if you are watching us right now, give us a listen, download our show wherever you get your shows, subscribe to our newsletter, text hotel to 66866. Thank you so much for being here. Remember, you got one life, so blaze on, and
And in the words of the great Anthony, be kind to yourself.
see you later.